Awesome. So, in case you're in the wrong place, this is the information session for mainstream organizations for the Culturally Powered Communities program here at United Way of Olmsted County. So this is a quick agenda just to give you an overview of how we are going to spend our time together today. We're going to set the stage with understanding who is here today, and we're going to discuss the values behind this work. Then we will dive into the details on the program, the eligibility, the program benefits and activities, the application process, and then we will open it up for a Q&A from you all. And then we'll tell you what the next steps are after we end our time today. So I would love for us to go around and introduce ourselves and the organization that you represent. And since we have quite a few people here today, I think what I'll invite you to do is introduce yourself, share your organization name, and then invite another person to introduce themselves and share their agency name. So I am Grace Pesh and I work at United Way of Olmsted County, and I will invite Emily to introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Emily Johnston. I am the Vice President of Community Impact at United Way of Olmsted County. And if you are probably unfamiliar with Zoom at this point, you can click on the participants icon at the bottom of your screen to see a list of participants. So I will choose who's next on my list, who is Christy.
I am Christy Turner, and I am the Office Administrator of Legal Assistance of Olmsted County. I am sitting in today because our Director, Karen Nath, was at another meeting, so I'm covering it for her. And I will say that Heather is next.
I am Heather Denkmeyer, and I'm here on behalf of Recovery is Happening. And I am going to call on Nora.
Hi everyone, I am Nora Anderson representing Threshold Arts. I will call on Chad Campbell.
Good afternoon. I'm Chad Campbell from Boys and Girls Club of Rochester, and I will call on Jennifer Teskey.
Good morning, everyone. Jennifer Teskey, Vice President of Resource Development at United Way of Olmsted County. And I will call on Ness.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah.
Are we just introducing ourselves?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, my name is Ness Kumbaki, and I'm with Hope Fuse, and I have my staff here that could also introduce herself.
Hi, I am Ashante, lead mentor here at Hope Fuse, sitting in with my CEO to see what you all are discussing here. And I call on, let's see who's next. Or we the last people?
Let's see what.
Participants. Andrea.
Hi, my name is Andrea Chapman. This is day 2 for me as the Resource Development Director at the Boys and Girls Clubs of Rochester, and I'm also a board member of the United Way in Goodhue, Wabasha, Pierce counties. Sorry, and I will call on Scott Maloney.
I was afraid I'd get called last and I wouldn't know who hadn't been called yet. So I'm Scott Maloney, Executive Director at Family Service Rochester, and I'll call on Vicki.
Hello, my name is Vicki Vandekreek. I use she, her pronouns. I'm here representing Planned Parenthood in Southern Minnesota. And okay, now I feel like I am stuck with trying to figure out who hasn't gone. Christina, have you gone? Okay.
I'm Christina Valdez. I'm the director at Listos Preschool and Childcare. And I think Wayne hasn't gone.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Wayne Ganaway. I'm the Executive Director of the History Center of Olmsted County. And is that everyone? Is everyone gone?
I believe we
Jeff
have
McSweeney?
two
Is Jeff
Jeffs
McSweeney
and a
gone?
Jamie left.
Jeff McSweeney, Executive Director of Big Brothers Big Sisters of the Seven Rivers region, calling from Winona today. And I'll hand off to Jeff Wyatt.
Hello, my name is Jeff Wyatt. I'm with SEMCAC here in Southeast Minnesota. And I think that leaves Jamie.
Always pick class, just like gym class. I'm Jamie Sunsbach. I'm the Interim Executive Director of the Collider Foundation here in Rochester.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone. It's really nice to know who's in the room and from where you are calling from. So I will kick it off to Emily, who's going to talk a little bit about our approach and our values behind this work.
Thank you all again for being here with us. Just before we kind of dive into what culturally powered communities is in the particulars, wanted to talk to you a little bit about sort of what it is in the abstract and what the values are behind this work. So our approach to the culturally powered communities program is what is called, or coming to be called, transformational capacity building. So if you are familiar with United Way of Olmsted County as a funder, or if we have a current funding relationship, what we are talking about today looks a little bit different. The Culturally Powered Communities Program is not so much a grant as it is a capacity building opportunity for organizations. And as we spent the last several years conceiving of this program and putting it together, we spent a very long time deliberately not calling it capacity building. Because we know that when organizations hear the words capacity building, they often think that means my organization lacks capacity and someone's here to fill up the hole and give me what I need. They have excess, I have lack, I don't know, they know, and that's not the approach. And so when we started to learn about this different way of talking about capacity building as transformational capacity building, Grace and I were really excited because we were like, this is the thing we've been talking about, and we're really glad to see that other people have found a language for talking about what that is. So transformational capacity building is focused on relationships. It is culturally relevant. It's meant to be flexible for organizations, focused on organizations' missions, cultivating networks between organizations, investing in people and leaders, changing the systems in which organizations operate so that organizations have the ability and the space and the resources to cultivate their capacities in multiple areas over time. And so you'll see on the screen some of the values that we're bringing to this work, and just want to talk to you a little bit about how this approach and these values are reflected in the process that we're going to talk to you about. So up front, we want to say that we are not experts, and by we, I mean United Way of Olmsted County, and I mean Grace and I as people who are working on this program and would work with you if you were part of our community of practice. We are at our own places in our journey to become a more equitable organization here at United Way of Olmsted County. Grace and I are on our own equity journeys to learn and unlearn. And so we're not coming from a place of saying we have answers and we're here to teach you what we know. Rather, we're here to invest the resources that we have and the skills and capacities that we have as an organization to grow and learn alongside our peer organizations here in Olmsted County. And we're excited to potentially be able to do that with you. So you'll see some of these values in the process we're going to talk about. Rather than being a written heavy application, this process is very much about meeting virtually, unfortunately still, to talk about where your organization is, where you are as a leader, where you hope to grow, opportunities and barriers to making that happen. We know that organizations know best about their missions, about the people they serve, about what their goals are and how to invest resources to meet their goals and achieve their missions. And we aim to work with our partner organizations to help support those goals. We really believe in transparent and open communication. So trying to model that a little bit for you now, because we're going to ask you to model that as part of the application process. And just kind of want to note that we're trying to set the tone through the application process for what this program would be like if you or in your organization participated in the program. This is not about showing up to the application process and saying, hey, look, my organization has it all figured out. we're going to be the last ones to say that we have it all figured out. It's about showing up and being able to talk about where you see your opportunities for growth, where you see your strengths, and how can you build on those strengths, and can this program provide the things that you're looking for that you think will help you build on those strengths. Grace, do you have anything you want to add?
Sorry, I jumped the gun. I do not have anything to add, but I think we will come back and reiterate some of these things as we continue to go on in our time together.
All right, so I'm going to dive in to talk a little bit about what culturally powered communities is. So like I said, this is not exactly a grant. It is really about developing organizations' capacities so that they have the opportunity to grow in multiple areas together over time. And so the program provides benefits to organizations in 4 areas: financial support, peer learning, organizational and executive capacity development, and strengthening networks. So we're going to talk about what that looks like for mainstream organizations. As you have probably seen in the request for proposals documents, there are 2 communities of practice that we'll be supporting through this program. One for culturally specific organizations and one for mainstream organizations. Today we're only talking about mainstream organizations. So if you have questions about culturally specific organizations, we can have that conversation offline. So for our mainstream organizations, we'll be participating in a community of practice together for 2 years. And over the course of that 2 years, organizations will develop and execute an action plan for how they want to grow as equitable organizations and be able to better meet their missions in an equitable way that serves everyone here in Olmsted County effectively, everyone within the scope of their mission effectively. And so the financial support that comes with that for our mainstream organizations is eligibility for project-based mini grants each year to implement those equity action items. So maybe there's something you've always wanted to do, or maybe through your learning, there's something you realize really might make a difference in your organization and you've never done it before, you don't have the budget for it. This is an opportunity to get an investment and show proof of concept that it can help you meet your mission. The core of the work is peer learning. So roughly monthly for over the course of 2 years, participating organizations executives will meet together with a United Way staff person. I will be your staff person working with our mainstream cohort and a facilitator to work on those action plans, to talk to one another about how that's going, hold one another accountable, and then do some learning to help you meet your goals for growth. We do not have topics determined because this is driven by organizations who know best what their goals, strengths, and opportunities are. So we're going to look at what those action plans look like for participating organizations, and then together, the community of practice will build out a learning plan, and United Way will invest in the learning and training opportunities to support those shared goals for growth. That's what that looks like, and you'll see we will be meeting on the second Friday of most months from 1 to 3 p.m. So mark your calendars now. All right, so growing organizational and executive capacity. So you'll be working on that action plan for advancing equity in your organization. Executives will get to participate in strengths coaching, just like transformational capacity building approach takes a strengths-based approach to organizations. We're taking a strengths-based approach to people and investing in some strengths coaching for our executives so that you can really come at this work thinking about how you lead, what your unique talents and capacities are, and how you can bring that to doing this work in your organization. And then the last component is strengthening networks between organizations and between leaders in the community. So you will have a community of supportive peers if you participate in the program of other mainstream organizations. There'll also be opportunities as a community of practice to cross over and work with our culturally specific organizations community of practice. We'll be fostering some networking opportunities for everyone involved in the program, our coaches, facilitators, staff, and then organizations from both of our communities of practice. And then if you are currently a United Way funded partner, you have been before, you know that there are some benefits and opportunities that we provide, opportunities to engage corporate volunteers for volunteering at your agency, and then recognition through our communication channels and participation in a capstone donor engagement event at the end of 2 years to try to share your story and your growth journey with stakeholders in the community who support your work. And just to reiterate, the executive director of your organization is the person who will be the core participant. So it is your organization's executive director that should participate in the application process. And it is your organization's executive director who should attend those roughly monthly community of practice meetings. There may be opportunities for other staff to attend as well, and that will depend on the norms established by the group and what kind of training or learning opportunities that we set up together. And then just to reiterate back to those values, really we are trying to create an opportunity for folks to grow and learn together. And so these places where we're saying, maybe it will be like this, maybe it will be like that, this will be decided by the group. That's because we really want this to respond to the needs of participating organizations and for organizations to really create the community that will help them succeed.
All right, so for eligibility, to be eligible to continue in the application process for this opportunity, you will need to currently or by July 1st provide services in Olmsted County and serve Olmsted County residents. Your programming must serve primarily low-income individuals or families, and we use the threshold of 185% of the federal poverty guidelines. And you must offer direct services that are designed to improve education, health, or financial stability of Olmsted County residents. You must also be an eligible nonprofit organization, which can look a little bit different for everybody. So either that is a 501c3, a faith-based organization with a few caveats there in terms of providing that you can demonstrate your programming does not include theological functions or require religious participation. And then unincorporated community groups, provided you can document your relationship with a proper fiscal sponsor. And if that's something that you need help arranging, we would be more than happy to help you do that. And then as Emily stated, part of the eligibility is that you must commit your agency's chief executive to participate throughout the 2-year program.
All right, so we're going to walk through the application process. This is a brief overview. We're going to talk about what this looks like. But the first step after attending this session or watching it, if you are watching the recording, so that you get the gist and begin to understand whether this is going to be a good opportunity for your organization's goals, is to schedule a one-on-one reflection session with a member of United Way staff, and you can start that scheduling starting tomorrow. Those conversations begin in March. After you've had your reflection session, you'll have the opportunity to submit a letter of intent, and then select organizations that submit a letter of intent will be invited to a final conversation with our panel of reviewers to discuss what's in your letter of intent. And just a reminder that your organization's executive director should participate in that one-on-one reflection session and in that panel conversation. And if you decide to staff out the writing of your letter of intent, that's between you and your staff. But hopefully you'll know what's in it, because that's what we would discuss at the panel conversation. So that one-on-one reflection session. So we will briefly have an opportunity to review eligibility if we're not familiar with your organization and answer any questions, but we really want to strongly encourage you, if you're not sure if you're eligible, if you're not sure what this is at the end of our hour today, or you're really not sure if it's going to be a good fit for your organization, we'd encourage you to reach out to Grace or myself and have that conversation ahead of time, because we want to reserve as much of this 60-minute conversation as possible for a guided reflection session. That really is about creating space and opportunity for you as a leader to think about where your organization is, where it's going, what it will take to get where you think you're going, what sorts of barriers and opportunities you see for your organization, where your strengths are as a leader for leading your organization where you want to go, where you think your own challenges are in leading the direction that you want to go. These are the kinds of questions that we will ask and that we'll discuss in that reflection session. This is intended to be a conversation with, you know, a professional peer with Grace or myself that's really just about creating space for reflection. So we're going to ask you to show up not with your presentation self, but with your learning self. That conversation will be private between you and the person, the staff person who has that conversation with you. So we may come back and share some general learnings with our review team around, we talked to XYZ organization and, you know, I observed that they were asking, very curious, asking a lot of questions. They identified X as an area for growth. What we're not going to do is share, well, Scott told me this, isn't that interesting? So that's really a conversation where the specifics will be kept in the Zoom room, if you will. And it's really our hope that regardless of whether you and your organization continue in this process or ultimately participate in the Culturally Powered Communities program, that this is an hour of time well spent where you just get space to think and reflect on what your hopes are for your organization. And that you'll be able to do something with that information, whether that's with us or whether it is not. So starting tomorrow, you can schedule that conversation or you can put it on the calendar. After you've had that conversation, you will be asked to submit a letter of intent, and that should be no more than 2 pages. That describes your organization's equity journey, including how you have assessed where your organization is at this point in time. And we are using the term assessment very broadly. Maybe you've gone through a formal process with a consultant or some kind of significant tool that's told you, here's where you are on this continuum, or maybe you spent 90 minutes in a staff meeting going through you know, a checklist from a free website talking about how you all thought your organization is doing. That's an assessment. We just kind of want to know that you have started some process that has helped you clarify for yourself at least a little bit where you feel you have strengths and where you feel you have opportunities for growth. So you'll describe your equity journey, including that assessment. You'll describe the populations that you serve and how well you think you serve them and why. Share your goals for meeting your mission in an equitable way and what you think the next steps might be for your organization to work toward those goals, and then share how participating in the Culturally Powered Communities program can help you achieve your outlined equity goals. That could be a lot in 2 pages, and you may discover, hopefully through the process of that 60-minute reflection with United Way staff person, where you want to lean into and spend more time in that 2 pages. The 2-page maximum is really so that we actually have the time to read what you write instead of just skimming it, so we can have a meaningful conversation about it. And you will email that to me, no having to create a login or use grants software, which we heard is always not fun. So we're avoiding that this time around. And then after our review team reviews all the statements of intent, organizations may be invited to attend a final conversation. This will be a fairly brief 30-minute conversation with our team to discuss what's in your letter of intent and have a little bit of Q&A. At that time, we will ask you, if we don't already have it on file to a current relationship, to share some organizational documentation with us that allows us to be able to grant you money for project-based mini grants. And then we will just share a final decision from our board of directors with you by April 21st.
And so to touch on how we are making these decisions on who to partner with, these are the 4 main areas that we will be looking at to base our decision making on. And we do have partners that are going to be helping us with this. The partners listed here have been actually helping us for many months design this application process, and then they will be helping us through the application process and giving us their thoughts and feedback and recommendations for decision making as well. And so the focus areas we will be looking at is alignment with the RFP. So really hitting on those eligibility points that we had talked about earlier today, making sure that you are serving mainly people living in poverty, making sure that you are doing direct programming that impacts health, education, and financial stability, and you're serving Olmsted County residents. And then we will also be looking at whether the organizational leadership is ready for growth. So that's really about like what you tell us. And through that guided reflection session, hopefully we can both walk away understanding what your own leadership appetite and capacity and skills are when it comes to being ready for this growth opportunity. And then also organizational awareness and goal direction. So learning through that conversation in the letter of intent about what your own assessments for your agency is and what types of goals you have and what do those look like? Are they realistic? What do you need? And then mainly it's alignment of offerings and applicant agencies' needs. So you have your own goals, you understand your agency far better than anyone else, and it's really about where you want to go supported by what we have to offer. So is there an alignment between what we're able to give to you and support you through, and will that help you achieve the goals you've outlined for yourself? And so I also listed who our partners in this application process and decision-making process is as well. You may know some of these folks from the community. Andre Crockett is involved in a lot of different things, but you may know him from Barbershop Social Services. Terry Allred, you may know her from the Minnesota Council of Nonprofits, though she is working with us as an independent consultant through her own consulting firm. Deneen Graham, who was previously here at United Way of Olmsted County and is working with us through her own consulting firm, and then Armin Budimlich through IMAA. And so I want to open this up to questions from you